a little bit about last night.
Yeah, so last night, last night, I mean, call it during the whole day, you know. So I started off with what I thought was going to end up being just kind of like dead weight. I had like, I don't know how I ended up with this, but I ended up with a whole bunch of Cincinnati. And when you get a bunch of Cincinnati, you know, you don't score any runs, kind of. But it's kind of interesting, you know. I of why it wasn't so bad, you know. Like the third inning, I continue to keep on grinding singles out, and you know, like always have kind of a chance. But so my red stuff wasn't really doing very well, and I didn't play. I forgot who I didn't play. There was somebody that was kind of going off. I didn't play. Right, so I didn't have any of the Cardinals, okay, except on FanDuel, right? So I had a couple good FanDuel ones, but the FanDuel ones were all weird because I had all kinds of Yankees, Indians, and Cardinals, all with Hyun-Jae Ryu. So that was that. I don't want to say the end of that. Some of them actually cashed, but then let's look at contests. I want to pull up the lineup so I can just kind of review this. But then I had that one really good lineup with the Mariners, with the Marlins, right? That had all kinds of good stuff. I had Bauer and Glasnow, and I was going to the last two slots with like a lot of points, right? Going to the San Diego game, I had like two slots left to fill. I had basically unlimited money for a third baseman and an outfielder. Okay, unlimited money. And I forgot to reach out to you before that happened, right? Before I made my decision there, because I was deciding whether I was going to go for the one-off Machado with an outfielder from the Dodgers, or whether it'd be better to just go to pick guys that correlated. You know what I mean? Like maybe go like with Muncy or Turner with one of the outfielders for the Dodgers and just go two Dodgers. But I just talked myself into the fact that Machado was just such a better raw points play for some stupid reason that I went Machado as a one-off, leaving me with the decision of a one-off to take in the Dodger game. So I was watching and I was seeing, you know, what was transpiring with Cleveland, because I didn't have any Ramirez in that lineup and everybody else did. And as long as I was kind of in fighting distance of these guys, I would just not do anything stupid. So I was kind of watching Ramirez, and he wasn't going off. So I was kind of within, you know, look, when you're within 25 points of a win, I consider that within fighting range. You know what I mean? Like, because you can always get 25 points out of your studs, right? So I had Machado, and I still thought that he was going to do fine. You know what I mean? Like, the game had just started, so I couldn't really count him out, right? So I was between, and I was reached out to Bobby about this. I was between any of three guys from that last game. Or from the last two games, the Yankees hadn't gone off yet. I could have gone with Judge or Stanton, but I felt as though that it was going to be someone from that Dodger game was going to be just a better raw play. So it was between, for me, you know, Mookie, who, you know, we all thought was the best play, right? Or Cody, or if I really felt I needed to go crazy, I could go to Yelich, right? Because he was going to be like the 0% owned guy of those three. That was like in my head, at least. So I was going back and forth with Bobby on this, and it was really interesting in my head because on the one hand, I didn't want to go too crazy, and you couldn't do bad between Mookie and Cody, honestly. Either would have been good picks. And I originally went to Cody because I just felt as though, like Bobby said, like he's just going to be lower owned than the Mookie, right? And that makes perfect sense. But I don't know, maybe this logic is bad. The reason why I ended up going back to Mookie is I felt as though that if Mookie, how am I going to put this? So if the stacks were going to get there, I would probably want, I don't know what I was thinking. It was something to do with how many stacks I might have to deal with. Right. Since I didn't see that many stacks kind of like lurking behind, I felt as though I can get away with just doing Mookie, because normally if you play Mookie, if Mookie scores, then the stacks are going to benefit also, right? But I wasn't as scared of that, so I then went back to Mookie at the last second. And I'll tell you, right until the end, right until the Yankees like went off in like the 8th and 9th inning, I was like within literally like one swing of first place in the lottery tournament. You know what I mean? And actually Mookie was up with this before the Yankees kind of exploded. and he smacked one like all the way to the wall in like the 7th, 8th inning, or whatever that was. And I'm like, I really hope the Yankees. I told Bobby, I really hope the Yankees go off here, because otherwise, that 2 feet cost me $50,000 probably.
Oh,
and it would happen, by the way. And so then what happened was that I saw Seager hit a home run, and then I noticed that in my 555, which I had given up on, it had both Mookie and Seager in it, and it was enough to get me 33rd place in that for $1,500. Now that lottery ticket one, that ended up doing well. It ended up doing 14th place, out of 10 million people, whatever. And that cash of $300, I was only in for 10 or 15 entries or something like that. So overall, I had a pretty good day on baseball. FanDuel, I didn't win because, again, like I said, I ended up with a couple of really great Yankee stacks with the Indians, but I was like you. I was 50% Ryu and 50% Freed. And the Freeds, looked a little bit more promising, but not really. I mean, Bauer just went crazy.
All right. No, man, that's awesome. I'm glad it's rolling for you. Let's get to tonight, because I've only got about 20 minutes, unfortunately, today. And I know we've got lock at 9:08, so it's whatever. It's basically, I can't quite go all the way up till then, so I've only got about 22 minutes today. I've got to leave at 8:40 because I've got a physical therapy thing I'm checking out.
If you go into surgery, I hope everybody's prepared for Sheets takes for like a little while.
No, even if I do, I can still do my takes, man. They'll probably come out better. Are you kidding?
Oh, so you're not going to be really out of commission? Okay.
No. It won't be. It won't be the worst thing. I don't think. It's just really frustrating, to be honest, especially.
All right. So who do you like in I don't really have all the lineups yet. Well, actually, none of us do.
Yeah.
But who do you like in pitching on DraftKings?
So here's the problem. So, okay, first of all, I want to say hi to, let's get to say Jamie. What's up, Eric, who loves the Marlins. And by the way, I always liked the Marlins idea. You remember before the season, I said the smartest thing you could do would be bet on all the long shot teams and everybody 100-1 or worse. And the Marlins would have obviously fit that category. They had the worst odds, along with the Royals, who I also liked, even though it didn't work out. There's also a lot of Yelich BVP talk versus Kershaw. If you want to play Yelich as a one-off, I'm fine with that. It's an interesting night, and I think you'll get low enough ownership. Good to see Carmen back in the chat. We got some winners in here today. Gino's saying he doesn't know if he can fade Darvish. I think that I think I'm just going to end up playing Darvish with. I think I'm just going to end up playing mostly Darvish with Kershaw, honestly. And I don't necessarily love Kershaw tonight, but I do think just playing the two best pitchers on these kind of slates when you've got some flexible salary is probably the best way to go. So that's what I'm going to do, I think.
For me, I'm not fading Darvish. I'm playing him in all the DraftKings lineups and most of the FanDuel ones. The SP2, I'm going to probably play Kershaw in the majority of them. But, I mean, just to let you know, I mean, there are three guys underneath that. I was hoping that there would be some kind of big ownership discount you can get on any of these guys, but it doesn't look like you're going to do it. But maybe. So I think based on numbers and points per dollar and all that stuff, I think Castillo, Anderson, and Woodruff are all kind of similar to me. So if there were any of those guys that you felt as though you can get really, really low ownership on, I would try. I do have some Darvish Castillo in my DraftKings. And, I would say it's scary, but, it's not like Castillo has an easy matchup. Yesterday's performance notwithstanding by the Braves, and the Braves are still really good, but I do like Castillo here. And again, I wouldn't kill you if you played any of those other guys like Anderson and Woodruff. I'm not going to get to them. But they do rate to be pretty decent. But I'm basically going all Darvish on DraftKings and mostly on FanDuel.
I mostly am going Darvish and Kershaw, but I do want to just throw out that I think Sixto is an awesome play. He's the value that could really have an upside game. I don't think you're going to get ownership discount on him. He's going to have ownership. I also think Brandon Woodruff, even against the Dodgers, is just a much better pitcher than his price tag, but he's going to actually have some ownership. So it's kind of weird, like how it's going to shake out today. It's just one of those slates. Ian Anderson will also have some, and I could see it going well for Anderson. He's been really good so far, but it's that spot. You know what I mean? I sort of like, just getting into stacks for a second. I know we're going to get to positions. I just wanted to point out, I think that it's interesting to try and maybe take a contrarian approach. Anderson, I don't know if they'll give him a ton of leash. They are up 1-0 in the series now. It's a must-win for Cincinnati. So even if Castillo gets into trouble, I could just see things getting a little shaky. We got Eric saying he loves Wainwright tonight. I don't like Wainwright even a little bit, but go ahead and play him. I mean, if you want less upside in a worse matchup than Sixto has by a much worse pitcher in Wainwright, I would just play Sixto personally. But,
yeah, but don't you think Sixto has less of a leash than Wainwright?
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah, maybe, but I mean, his leash has been fine. It's just he struggled in his last 2 outings.
No, just because he's a rookie. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
But it's not a must-win for the Marlins. He's their best pitcher. They have a lousy, pretty lousy back end of their bullpen, so they'd have to use just the top guys back 3 days in a row. I don't know. I think that they'll. I mean, we saw what they did yesterday. They gave the leash to Alcantara. I don't think it'll be so much different for Sixto. But if he struggles, then again, they're going to pull him. I mean, that's going to happen for almost anybody in a 2 out of 3 series anyway, even a good pitcher.
So I'm just doing this like for the people, just because you guys asked about Wainwright. Whatever. I'm literally playing 0 Wainwright and I'm playing 0 Sixto. But I'm just saying between those two, that's the only reason I'm even having this discussion.
Yeah, of course. All right, let's move over to catcher, because we actually have some options today that are pretty good options potentially. I don't know what the Dodgers are going to do with their lineup, so I wouldn't hinge everything counting on Will Smith being in the lineup. Now he probably will be, along with Barnes, but Barnes does catch Kershaw, and the last times, except for the last the 2 bad starts Kershaw's had, where Will Smith caught him. So I'm guessing they go back to Barnes catching him. Maybe they do DH Will Smith, maybe they don't, but I'm not 100% sure that they will. So be careful with that one if you're going to assume he's going to play. Because of that, you also might get lower ownership on him too a little bit, and also everybody's going to play the most obvious play, which is Grandal, right?
I guess.
Okay. Anybody who do you like?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Grandal. You could again. I'm not that greedy. I mean, in some of my lineups, I might just play $2,200 Caratini from the 9 hole, and hope I don't get a 0. I mean, that's possible. But in general, I mean, I'll just play whichever catcher goes with my stacks. Like I'm probably going to play some St. Louis, so I'll have some Molina. And yes, with the White Sox stacks, you'll want to get Grandal. And I don't really have any real strong opinion on the catchers today. Like, you can play Barnhart with your Reds. You know what I mean? I guess you're right. I guess like if you're playing draft or whatever it is, like I guess Grandal has to be the best play, I suppose.
Yeah, and he's going to be chalky, and there's a lot of good reasons why. But I like Tucker Barnhart also. If you're going to play some Cincinnati bats, he's a good guy you can add to there for cheap. So he would be the other one who stands out to me. You could play Caratini again. I'm totally fine with that as well. The other guy would probably be, again, Will Smith or Austin Barnes with your Dodger stacks. So do you want to take first base?
Yeah, sure. So first base is, for me, it's kind of spread a little bit. If Edwin Encarnacion gets in at 3,300, I'm gonna play him. Now again, Abreu's always going to have more upside of the first baseman of that team. But at 3,300, maybe it makes other stuff work, or maybe it'll be less owned. And on FanDuel, you can play them both. I do like them. I like right back with Aguilar again at 2,800. And those are my 2 favorites. But I have to say, honestly, that there's no real big standout for me. So it's going to be a stack-based thing. Like I'll even pay up for some Goldie with St. Louis, Olsen, Freeman. I mean, again, I don't need the hedge or whatever, but there's no standout for me. I guess I would say that if E5 plays, he'd be my best value of the first base.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. I'm just gonna do what I did the other day. I'm gonna play Abreu. I don't care too much that I'm gonna get some ownership on him, and that he's expensive. That he's reasonably, priced. I actually think that ownership will be lower on him than it probably should be today. So I'm into Abreu. I mean, look, if you're gonna do something weird, you could always play one of those weird cheap catchers and play Grandal at first. I actually think he's a pretty good play. He's the one catcher you could sort of make that argument for. Freeman, I think I would just prefer Bellinger and Muncy, even though they've struggled lately. That would be the route I would go if I didn't play Abreu. Those two, Grandal and Olsen, would be the guys I'd be considering. Pretty much no one else for me at first base. I get the Encarnacion thing. I'm fine with it if he's in the lineup. Because he can't run, to see him getting pulled earlier in games, he only had 2 at-bats in the game that he did play. I just feel a little weird about it, even if he's in, so I would rather just pay up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could do it.
You could do it. There's plenty of cheap plays. We'll get to the next one over here. Chad Pinder is 2K. I don't mind the A's in general today, but Pinder at 2K, this is one of the spots I'm going to be saving with. I think Moustakas is going to be popular. I think La Stella is going to be popular. And I think that Albies will be under-owned, so he would be my favorite spend up. But realistically, because I'm spending up at catcher some with Grandal, or where I'm playing Grandal and Abreu together, I need to save somewhere. So I'm sort of leaning towards Pinder.
Well, I guess I'm cheating because the best play you left out, but maybe you're waiting for him at a different position. Yeah, it's freaking always John Birdie's season. He's from the 2-hole at 2,300. I don't know whether you consider
I'm playing against Darvish, and I'm playing Darvish.
I got you, but I mean, like, I guess if you're going to play Darvish in every lineup, then you'd have to get the Birdie, I suppose.
Yeah, so I don't know.
2,300 from the 2. I mean, like, if you're not
long makes sense too.
Home run on FanDuel is like kind of like clearly my best second.
He's going to be like 500% owned, I'm just going to say. So I'll just personally pivot other directions. Even like Kipnis is going to have ownership today. Like, I really don't think Pinder's going to get that much ownership in his 2K. I really just am going to go with it.
What about the other dude? What about Madrigal at 2,200?
Yeah, if he's in the lineup, yeah, I think you could go that route too. That's fine with me. Especially, like part of White Sox stacks, that's totally fine. I don't know that I'm betting on the White Sox to score 500 runs today, but I do think there's going to hit some home runs today. I think they're going to.
It's cool. It's like no one really scores 500 runs except for the Yankees. Like that's the only team that really scores 500.
I know, and the Dodgers will, even though they didn't last year. It's a tough.
They score what they needed to score. They're fine.
Yeah, we'll see, man. It's a scary series.
I know. It's the whole thing scares you. I at no point in that game thought the Dodgers were losing.
Neither did I until Kenley walked. I mean, first of all, just to throw 2 ridiculous curveballs to start off on when you're up too late, the low weak hitter in the lineup. I'm like, what are you doing, man? I was losing it a little bit because I've seen that story before. Anyway, third base, I really have one strong conviction play.
Ooh, what do you got?
It's Suarez. It's just too cheap. If Chris Bryant was any good anymore, he would make some sense, but he's just so bad. And shout out to Kirk Dees, by the way, for acknowledging me, tweeting out that Bobby Fye was right along. Chris Bryant sucks. That was pretty funny. Fortunately, didn't start the whole feud back up with Scherer or anything like that. Anyway, but yeah, I have Suarez, and you can play Pinder here. I don't love Pinder. I'm just saying that you can play him here. Austin Riley's probably a little too far down in the lineup for me. Moncada, you could use your White Sox stacks, but he's been really, really awful since he had COVID, and he's basically been the one guy to come out and say that it's really affected him. Muncy, it's Muncy. If Rios gets back in the lineup for the Dodgers, you could play Rios. That's one thing I would say is that this is not projecting for Rios at 2.8K, which is going to be like one of the better values on the day if he's in the lineup. And he was in the lineup yesterday against a lefty to start. So you'd think that they would probably play him against a righty with the way he's been going.
So I don't know if you guys – it's so funny. Like I think of it from the people that are watching in, and then I think of what I did when I was like watching content. I mentioned this the other day when I used to watch like listen to the Morning Grind a lot. I would say, okay, like if these guys – this is back when Stevie was doing it. I'm like, okay, if both – it's not Stevie Siege, right? I'm like, okay, both these guys, and this is like, these guys are like my heroes when I first started. I didn't have my heroes, but I figured these guys were like the biggest experts in the world, right? And I'm like, okay, if both these guys like them, I'm like writing them down. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you guys look at it that way, but I couldn't agree with you more. I think Suarez is clearly the best play. And for me, it's not particularly close. And the funny thing is, the second guy I had, I was going to say, oh, it's probably Chris Bryant, but he sucks. That was literally what I was going to say. So, yeah, I'm in there, and I'm going to be playing some Reds anyway, so it makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's the thing is the Reds are my sneak. So here's the thing I want to just make a point of today. So we got a question about Dunning from Eric Johnson. So I would like Dunning in this matchup if this was a regular season matchup, or if the White Sox were up 1-0. I feel like the leash in an elimination, a must-win game for both teams in a game. I would say Game 7, but a Game 3. You need to win the game. So his leash, you could literally see him out of the game without giving up a run after like 2 innings. It's possible. I just don't want to gamble with it. The pitchers I know who have somewhat of a leash are Darvish and Kershaw and Other than that, I would take chances on the other guys ahead of him. The teams, like I would prefer Sixto, because Sixto, first of all, he's got a better strikeout matchup anyway, although they're both pretty good. And he's also facing a Cubs team, facing a team where they have he's in a situation where they have a 1-0 lead. So they're more likely to give him extended, let him get out of a jam or two, even though, again, they're all going to have a little bit of a short leash, but he's got a little bit more of a leash to me than Dunning will have tonight. Dunning, you could see pitch like 2 innings.
You want to do outfield? Or no, shortstop next, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Oops. Okay, shortstop. It's kind of close. Actually, there are 3 shortstops that for me kind of stand out. And that's Tatis, Semien, and Anderson. The other guys just are a little bit weaker for me, including Seager today. I don't know why, but I don't know why. Maybe I'm dumb. I don't know.
Woodruff's a good pitcher.
What's that?
Woodruff's a good pitcher, but I mean, at this point, everybody's good pitchers pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly going to be in play, I guess. But Dijon on, I think on FanDuel's all right, whatever. But my favorites are Tatis, Semien, and Anderson.
Yeah, there's a lot of good options, so you're going to have a little bit of spread out ownership. I think Seager's clear and away the best option. I think the second best option is Tatis. I don't even know clear and away. I would actually say Tatis and Seager are close. I just prefer the Dodgers a little bit. I actually like the Padres a lot tonight, but their prices make it really, really hard to get any of them in. And I would rather play Betts than I would play any of those spend-ups personally, although it's close with Tatis and Machado. Anyway, we didn't mention Machado at third, by the way. But again, another really expensive, great play. But Seager, those are the guys I'm using. Semien makes sense, and he's going to have ownerships. All these guys, the young will have some ownership. Tim Anderson in general, I obviously love Tim Anderson. But I'm just siding with the Seager and Tatis and just calling it a day.
Okay. So outfield. So here's the deal with the outfield. I mean, as far as I'm concerned. So first of all, same thing as before. I just wanted to tell you that if you felt like doing this, right? If you don't play Darvish in every lineup, Corey Dickerson's 2,800, and he's hitting the crap out of the ball basically for the last 3 weeks, right? So he certainly looks good. The other thing I would say, as long as we're talking about this kind of near the top of my value list, if you don't want to play every lineup with freaking Kershaw, Ryan Braun is only 3K, and Avisal Garcia is 2,600. So I'm probably going to try a little of that in non-Kershaw lineups just for the hell of it. And the other thing I want to ask you about, which is a little annoying, because I do find this value up in the outfield, is in the Reds with Senzel and Shogo. And what happened and this is, the risk you take is both these guys got pinch hit for yesterday.
Which is really weird because Senzel, well, I mean, first of all, it was a 13-inning 0-0 game, so basically everybody deserved to be pinch hit.
No. But Senzel got pinch hit for in the 6th.
He had 4 at bats.
I don't know. When I was watching, he had gotten pinch hit.
I'm sure it wasn't a double switch or something. I think that's probably what it was.
Maybe
it had to have been because he had 4 full at bats.
Okay, all right.
That's
fine. That's what I was going to ask you then. So between both those guys, they both are tremendous values, and I love the Reds as a stat. Just don't want to get one at bat out of these people that are down 1-0.
Right. Well. No, exactly. And I think there's some concern for that, especially with Shogo. My main lineup, I sort of skip those guys for other cheap guys that I like.
Okay.
But I do have them in my secondary, both Senzel and Shogo in my other lineups. I also think that Garcia, even against Kershaw, is still a solid enough play at 2.6. We saw what, hit a home run last night also. Unfortunately, taking my man Buehler, who was off to a really nice start before that. And then we've got the, you've got the Cubs guys. I'm going to sort of fade that. That wind is blowing at a weird angle, and I don't really know how I feel about wanting to go there. I like the Dodgers in general in the outfield here. I like the Adam Engel, Luis Robert cheap part of my White Sox stacks, assuming that's how the lineup goes, which I think it would, especially after Engel did start in basically the same spot the other day. And that's sort of the thinking I'm going with. I'm going to have 4 or 5 players from the Oakland game in all my lineups, but I don't love that much from Oakland outside of Olsen, Pinder. So they sort of overlap. So that would be a better FanDuel combo stack, if that makes sense.
I got another dude for you, by the way. My one outfield one off from yesterday, freaking Dylan Carlson season. He's
all about Dylan Carlson. I had no idea how that kid was 2% owned on FanDuel.
Crazy, right?
I was like, whoa. Oh man, that was nuts. By the way, real quick on the thing, I didn't win the $1 million last night.
What?
I was frustrated. The guy won it solo. He won it solo with, you know what he won it with? Basically a chalk thing and Kendrick Nunn.
Dude, I had Kendrick Nunn in the captain.
I had Kendrick Nunn. I had 11% Kendrick Nunn. I think maybe 12, and I thought I was going to be he was in 2% or something, but I thought he was going to be even lower. And then I had a bunch of Olynyk and Nunn together playing the blowout angle, but it was hard to get the right amount of points the rest of the way. So I literally, I mean, and everybody could say this, but I had a very frustrating. I tried to play Nunn and these guys with Kuzma playing the blowout either side run. And had I stuck with Danny Green instead of Kuzma, that might have been me chopping that $1 million.
So wait, so you know the guy that won the whole thing or no?
I've heard his name before, but It's just bizarre, man. He won by a fraction. I mean, it was incredible. It was a unique lineup because it wasn't that crazy except for the Nunn part. And it was just, it was Anthony Davis, the captain.
You know what I did? And then I just want to do FanDuel for a second, is that I ended up literally with all those guys between Nunn, Olynyk, Myers Leonard, Iguodala. Like, I had all those guys in the captain. The highest price guy I had in the captain, I had one Jay Crowder in the captain. That was it. Everybody else was like, I just want to jam all the other guys in the flex. And a couple of them cashed okay. But like you said, I mean, the guy that won the $1 million, it wasn't exactly, you didn't have to pick like, Udonis Haslam to get it done.
Right. Real quick, just on Eric's question about this Dunning thing again. Like, I understand, like, if this was a regular season game, I'd be playing Dunning against this A's team. But this is not. It's a must-win spot, and I personally am going a different route. If you want to play him, go ahead and play him. I actually think the matchup is fine for him, and he could get through a few innings quickly with a couple strikeouts, and yeah. But and then maybe they do let him keep going. But I'm just saying, the first sign of any trouble, I don't get the feeling that he's going to last very long. My personal take. Anyway, Sheets, real quick before we get out of here, what's your favorite stack today?
Cardinals, White Sox, Reds.
Cardinals, White Sox, Reds. Interesting. Yeah, I don't like the Cardinals. I feel like the Cardinals are in a bad spot, but I get it. It's a great hitting environment, and it's a question of, do we trust Davies at all? Like, he's been good all year. I guess that maybe I'm just letting that bias make me a little biased. I think the best scoring wise are going to be obviously the Dodgers, Padres, and I like the Reds. I'm sorry, Dodgers, Padres, White Sox, but I like the Reds like mini stack for the prices. And by the way, Braun is great against lefties, but he's not the same guy he used to be. FYI, if he just anyone out there playing him.
And just for fun, I want to tell you some. And again, you got to watch the lineups too, because this is like based on the lineups. Well, right now, my highest owned player. Let's do that. Well, besides Darvish is 95% right now. My highest owned player right now is Adam Engel.
That's interesting. My highest owned player is Mookie Betts and Corey Seager. I have 100% of them on DraftKings personally.
Well, because I think what it is, I have all these stacks with White Sox, and I think Engel just makes it all work.
Hey, Engel's in my main lineup, and so is Luis Robert.
And then the other guy who I have the most of is I have 40% Suarez.
40% Suarez. That makes sense. Yeah, I think I have 100. Actually, on DraftKings currently, before I make my last edits, I have 100%.
Well, Alfaro is out at catcher, if anybody cares.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I actually didn't know who was catching for them.
By the way, Harrison Bader yesterday, he struck out 5 times.
I know. The guy cannot hit.
Is he going to be out?
Bader?
Yeah.
I don't. Why? What do you mean?
Is he going to not be allowed to play? Because he struck out 5 times?
For defense mostly anyway. Like, I mean, that's not. I don't know. It's not relevant to me personally unless we hear something. I guess we just have to wait to see what the lineup is. I mean, he could always be out. He's a terrible hitter. Everybody knows he's terrible. He just happens to be a good fielder. So, all right, I got to get running. I'm going to say my one hot take today is that Yeah, well, no, I guess it's not a hot take. It's just what I'm going to do. I think you're looking at Dodgers, White Sox, and then if you can find the way to fit them in, Padres, with mixing in the cheap parts of the Reds. And however many lineups I play, that's what I'm going to do.
So here's my hot take. Ready? Now again, you know the manager part more than I do, right? But if they let him, you want a real hot take? I think that Clayton Kershaw puts up an incredible ceiling today.
I love it. I want it. Let's go. Postseason.
I think if they let him, he could pitch a freaking no-hitter against this team. To close this freaking thing out, I think that, again, I don't know what Dave Roberts is going to do, but I think that Kershaw has been much better this year than I thought he was going to be. We've picked on Milwaukee a bunch, so they've gotten a little bit better, but that's going to be my homer take, my homer for you take. Is that, and I just thought about this, and I'm going to have mostly, all Darvish and not 100% Kershaw, but you want the hot take? I think that Kershaw that'll be my take, that Kershaw puts up the highest score of the day, like by a lot.
Oh, I like it. Okay, I'll go with that one. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'm ready to get out of here because I have to go to my appointment. And Sheets, thanks for doing this. Last minute on here. We'll be on QLTV tomorrow and have a video for football and all that stuff. And Sheets, we can figure that out a little later.
I'm stoked for football.
It'll be good. All right, guys. Take it easy. Good luck out there. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.
Okay, Bobby. Let me hold on. Let me finish. Is that what I